right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, we're going to be talking about a whole lot. So remember, you can always find a source list and a full bibliography over on marfooglenews.com. You have every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we're going to show you here today. And today's a specifically important one as far as the website goes, because all of the sources for some pretty crazy stuff are over there. So you can verify what we're going to be saying today. As far as State Department wants China, Russia to declare that AI won't control nuclear weapons, only humans. Why is this even a question? I don't know either. And honestly, this is absolutely nuts that they even have to ask. It says the State Department official is pushing Thursday for China and Russia to declare that only humans and not artificial intelligence will make decisions on deploying nuclear weapons. Now, keep in mind, we've actually talked about how AI is being implemented in China in some of their weapons. As far as, of course, it's being implemented in a lot of weapons all around the world, including ours. But they have actually gone way, way past anybody else in autonomous drones and being able to have those drones decide who to take out. You're talking about if there was a crowd of 1,000 people, it would be able to facially recognize everybody and even decide, oh, can I take that person out? Maybe I shouldn't because I might hit this other person. It would make all of the decisions on its own. If that person ran and did something completely unexpected, they would leave it up to that drone to figure it out. You're talking about like Tesla self-driving with 50 cals attached, like that kind of scary stuff. And even worse than 50 cals, like missile launchers. That is what is happening right now. And this is talking about the next step. What happens then? Do you have, if something happened to all of the Chinese leadership or all of the American leadership, would it be left up to an automated system? Well, in some cases, they say that already kind of is the case. If everybody was taken out, would it automatically do it? As far as AI, what if it made a decision before World War III? Or if AI decided, hey, these humans are bad, we just need to get rid of them. Paul Dean, an official in the State Department's Bureau of Arms Control, Deterrence, and Stability, said during a press conference that the U.S. has already made a very clear and strong commitment that in cases of nuclear employment, that the decision would only be made by a human being. It says we would never defer a decision on nuclear employment to AI. And I kept reading it. Every time I read that in both cases, I'm thinking, do they mean deployment? And it was a typo, but again, who knows? AI could be writing the article. I assumed that that's a correct use of employment, employ a weapon, right? We strongly stand by that statement, and we've made it publicly with our colleagues in the UK and in France. Which, again, France has been popping up everywhere. France really is, as far as Macron is going, we've talked about how over the last week he's been stepping up and trying to be the peacemaker and the guy who takes charge, or he's trying to kind of like a Churchill type. We'll do it. We would welcome a similar statement by China and the Russian Federation, noting that we think it's an extremely important norm of responsible behavior. Why is this a question? Let me ask you that. Go think about it, and we'll get right back to you. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, let's go over to the map. Of course, we're going to bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine, and just as perplexed as you are as to why it would even question AI controlling nuclear weapons.
Well,
it makes no sense.
So, Dex, first of all, think about, like, obviously, if, say, something happened to all of our leadership, I'm sure we have. Well, isn't it supposed to be if there was missiles launched at us that automatically ours would launch back or something like that? Like, I've always kind of thought that was the idea. But I guess that's not so much the problem.
Well,
it's if they make the decision to do it, right?
Right. I think I don't think it's automatic in the sense, but it's automatic in the sense that the responsibility of the president is to respond to that. I think we reported that the other week, something like 6 minutes or less for them to make the decision and to retaliate. And then they have to put in their keys. And then once that happens, it's over. Then there's no coming back from that.
And I believe it's still codes. Like you have to, it's a 2-man rule, and they have a specific code, and there's each person has several codes, and only they know which code is the right one. If you put the wrong one in of any kind, so if you try all of the codes on both sides or any combination besides the 2 correct codes, then it won't work. That's like their version of a key or whatever, right? Well, it's like, why would you ever take something that they obviously think that is so important to have, to where you can't mess this up, and then put it in the hands of AI? This is like straight out of Skynet, like Terminator. I don't understand why it would have to be asked unless there's something that they know that we don't. Think about this, Dex. Like, if they're asking, that means there may be information, or they may be having meetings. They may be saying behind closed doors, we think Russia or China has actually attached it to AI. Highly doubt Russia, but I would think China would.
Well, think about this. What if, at the end of the day, if that's a single point of failure for our response, in other words, if, let's say, the nuclear football, as they call it, didn't work, or it was sabotaged somehow, and Russia launched against us, and our current president says, okay, well, I'm supposed to launch back, and opens the football and tries to use it, and it doesn't work right because it had been sabotaged or something. That is the single way to actually not have mutually assured destruction and have a one-way win. The reverse is true too. You got to believe there's something like that in Russia, where Putin has, his nuclear suitcase, which we know they see it following him around, where he has the same capabilities. So the question then becomes, that's probably the most important, most valuable asset, obviously most protected asset, but it's also the most sought after asset from an adversary to be able to infiltrate, whether it be through espionage and people, or even hacking or something else. And are they looking at that and looking at AI as a way to potentially, give them a fail-safe for that, should that, physical device be compromised?
Are they looking at it and saying there are some great pros and cons, and the pros of AI? Are they looking at a specific part of AI and saying this could actually always create a new code, that you wouldn't be able to do it by accident? Are they seeing some sort of positive thing that AI could help with in that specific thing? But it's like, it's AI. It's artificial intelligence. It's just insane to even think about. Think about the road we're going down. All of the crazy sci-fi predictions, all of the movies that people say, you watch too many movies. All of those freaking movies are happening right now. Every single one. I mean, God, it's life imitates art. I don't know what's happening. I mean, it's really like we're in the Twilight Zone right now. Do you guys agree? Let me know in the comments down below. What is going on? We've got Heart Salvia. We've got See Here Think. Resistance Homesteading. What is happening? CR User. Briar Patch. The world has gone mad. Yes. We are all Kyle Reese. Tracy Q. Yes. And James Darren. The snake told me the woman will not sorely die if you eat of it. From the Bible. LOLs. Scratch definitely. Which, by the way, the title today Or no, I guess that was the news title. But that was a direct Bible quote. But we were going to put the King James version, but it was way too long for a title, so we ended up using the American Bible version. But I thought about it. People would be angered by that we use that version, but about star falls, just so crazy what's going on. By the way, if you haven't already, go check out the news video we just made over there, and we put several things together, not only new developments, but also stuff from the last 2 years, actually from the last 5 years, of kind of following what's going on with space and what the heck is going on right now. Speaking of the whole AI thing, that video kind of plays into this too. They have something called Operation Starfall. They have Victus Vox, which is also a system in which they can launch a response rocket and basically cut through all the red tape and launch. NASA and SpaceX can launch things like immediately. We think that was just used for the response to the February 9th launch by Russia. They launched a top secret, possibly nuclear payload, and then we launched something that possibly detects it or responds to that. So there's a lot going on with space, and it makes you think like this whole AI subject is going to expand. Carol is here. We've got Rashid. We've got Bug Nano. We've got Priscilla R. Cynthia S. Nice to see you. We have Priscilla R. Shugs. Thank you. See her think. Thank you, Dillinger. Thank you. I appreciate you for subscribing. And LOD Will says, Russia has nuke in space. They scared. Yeah, I think that they already put something crazy up there. That's just my opinion, though. What is yours? Let me know. And then Dex, do you want to go over Turkey halts all trade with Israel as relations are at a breaking point? Which Turkey, again, NATO ally.
Exactly. NATO ally. And by the way, we had our huge B2s, I think, there, or B1s, one of them were there on their land in Turkey, stationed temporarily in preparation for potential use in the Middle East during this most recent heated event. But at the same time, Turkey has also been very vocal against Israel and against what has been going on. And they've had very significant positions against a lot of just about everything, from recalling ambassadors to having inflammatory rhetoric exchange between their leaders. And now what they've done is they have said, hey, we're going to stop and halt all exports and imports. So basically they shut off the country. It doesn't mean that Israel's going to starve or nothing, but at the same time, it's a big deal because countries have trade relations set up. They move, billions of dollars worth of merchandise or product or raw materials, whatever it may be, back and forth to one another, whether it's selling one oil or buying something from another, both ways, but they shut it off. So they have now confirmed that it is true. They have actually blocked all Israeli imports and exports from all Turkish ports. So that's another just big sort of step in that direction of saying, hey, we're not, siding with you, even though you're a Western ally, and we're not happy with what you're doing, even though we're, in bed with NATO and we're supposed to be in lockstep form with everyone, but we're not. And that's what Erdogan is doing.
Good comment. Tantrum, I'm going to respond to that here in a second. As far as Israel and Turkey has been throwing up kind of weird signals for the last couple of years. Since the whole thing with Russia and UKR has started, it seems like obviously some of these NATO members have relationships with our adversaries. As far as also, they could definitely have a very close relationship with China, or even if it's a secret relationship like the Erdogan. If they had a relationship with China, that really does not kind of go against what NATO is all about. NATO is all about Russia. NATO is not so much about China. So it's like you've got NATO allies, which are technically our allies on one front, but they may not be a ally on another. So they may actually be working with one of our adversaries. But this is pretty big development as far as having that happen. Are other countries going to follow suit? Are we going to see this in other countries and they're going to say, well, Turkey did it, maybe we should try doing it? Either way, what's going on right now with the colleges and all of the back and forth and the protests, it just seems like we're primed for some massive event to go off right now. And I'm really, really praying that that doesn't happen. Tantrum made a comment, says, I have a feeling that SpaceX and them are not just hauling up internet up there. Well, we know that they're not just hauling up internet. I mean, there are top secret payloads that are up there. I know there's an inner debate in our community and a subset that doesn't believe they're doing anything up there. But again, for the most of us, we believe that they are definitely hiding things, that they are definitely lying to us, and that they are definitely launching things that are absolutely dangerous. They're launching things that can surveil us and track us and trace us. I mean, we've known that for a long time, but we're talking about new technologies that you won't be able to hide. You won't be able to bug out anymore. That's the kind of stuff that's actually happening with AI teamed up with satellites. You're talking about if AI can constantly scan the entire world. If a leaf moves in the bushes, it can then go decipher if it was an animal that walked past that leaf or if it was a human that walked past that leaf. Even if you had it covered, they have tools now. I mean, it's getting ridiculous what they're able to do with these satellites. But I think SpaceX, the whole thing with Mars and going to the moon, and all of these countries are doing it. They're doing it because something is going to happen. Like they're trying to set up a backup plan. That's what it looks like to me. And then the very, very rich that don't have a ticket on that ride, right? They are setting up with bunkers, and they're setting up with kind of their backup plan. If they can't get somewhere in time, they'll have this huge, huge bunker to sit through whatever is happening. That's just my thoughts, and that's one of my crazier theories. I really do think that they know about that either something is coming from another universe or an interstellar object or something is on its way. And it's going to hit us or, destroy our planet, something. But at the same time, I also think that there's a lot going on here. Like the wars will be about resources, they always are, and about power and about structure. And there's groups that are trying to take over the entire structure. They're trying to get everybody under the same umbrella. All these things are happening at the same time. And it's so many things happening at the same time that when you do it, it's like almost like, it sounds crazy because you're like, all of these things are happening at once. It's kind of like the people that said, oh, you mean all these countries in the entire world teamed up for 2019? Like, oh, they're all working together to fool you. Anything's possible, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. China's new aircraft carrier is being tested at sea for the first time, but U.S. carriers remain in the echelon of their own, expert says. So they're basically saying they're now, again, sped up, by the way. This was supposed to launch in like 2025, I believe, and then the fourth one is supposed to launch way out. All of the deadlines have been moved up. We're at that point where this new Chinese carrier is now, it's done. It's getting put on the water. It is actually being tested in sea. It is about ready to go. It's ready for war. This is absolutely crazy looking. Is this the actual one though? Yeah, look at that. I mean, this is just crazy. Look at how fresh and new that is. That is insanity. Now, I believe these buildings were built there for when they were building it, but those aren't going to be there for when it's done. So this doesn't have a ramp. Dex, so did you notice that this does not have a ramp? Imagine these buildings. I don't believe those are going to be there. That's for just like when they're building.
If I remember when we showed the same picture a while back, because this is the pictures from 2022. So that is the carrier, but that was when they had their celebration of launching it into the water, not like taking it out to sea. So it's gone through many different stages. And yes, those buildings were some sort of temporary structure, or maybe even part of the celebration that they were doing and something they were doing up on top. They didn't want people to see, or they were having something inside there.
But there's no ramp, so it has catapults, right?
It either does, or there was one that was going to be put on after, or it's designed for VTOL or other equipment. But yeah, I'm just going to assume it's going to be similar to our non-ramp carriers.
Now, the ramp I'm talking about is the older carriers. They actually have a ramp to try to launch the plane when they go up. They launch off. A lot of ours don't need that, so they can accommodate all sorts of other craft and other things because they have these catapult systems that launch the jet. It basically gets it going to where it needs to be. So this thing is just gigantic, though. Yeah, and there's a lot of folks that think, oh, if it's made in China, that it's going to fall apart right away. Like, I'm sure they didn't skimp out on this guy. They're not skimping on their military, that's for sure. And that is now not only in water, which that already happened, it is now ready to go, and they're now testing it. They're firing its weapons. They're probably doing all sorts of drills with it. So yeah, that's really, really freaky that's already going. But they're trying to say that ours are better, but at the same time, do you remember China just told us that they have satellite systems, low orbiting satellites that can actually knock out all of the radar of all of our ships? They said it would take 7 satellites to knock out our entire Navy and all of their anti-missile systems, all of their radar, everything. So they wouldn't even be able to defend themselves. They said then it was 28 or 32, something like that. They said with 28 or 32 of them, we could knock out the entire planet. So if that is true, if they really do have the technology they say they have, then that is no good. All right, and over to chat. Thank you, Swetnam Ministries. I appreciate that. Thank you, British Perspective. Appreciate that as well. Swetnam said, if you ever want to know more about prophecy, I will gladly tell you what I know. Hey, thank you, Swetnam, and I appreciate your support. Thank you, Nevitz from Canada. Thank you so much. However bad the world seems, you can be certain that it is much, much worse than we imagined. Yeah, so you're saying it's worse than what it seems. Yeah, I actually agree with that. And thank you for the support, Nevitz, and I appreciate you stopping by again. Thank you for your diversity and in-depth reporting. Thank you, Joanne Breeze, and I appreciate your support. Thank you guys for supporting our independent channel. All right, and then let's go to the U.S. needs allies to help build a naval coalition if it wants to stand a fighting chance against China's massive fleet. This is coming from a retired admiral. We'll go over that in just a second, but I do want to remind you, if you do want to protect yourself against not only EMP strikes or electromagnetic pulse strikes and a Carrington-level event from the sun, then you definitely want to go check out EMP Shield. This device can protect you not only against EMP, CME, but it can also even protect your home against lightning. This is not a normal surge protector device. This thing is actually, this company is being used by agencies like DHS, DOD, and the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid. This can handle multiple EMP strikes, and it can handle a Carrington-level event from the sun. That way, if you have this on your car, truck, motorcycle, boat, pretty much anything that runs, including gas-powered generators or your home or even your solar system, then make sure it will end up protecting you against all of that, and it will ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it can fry your device. Not only will you save $50 off per device, but you will also help our channel at the same time. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF. Again, that's marfooglenews.com/EMP, and make sure to use the code MARF. Dex, do you want to go over what the U.S. Needs allies to help build a naval coalition?
Well, hot on the heels of the new carrier, not new, but new stage for the carrier from China going into the water, the now retired U.S. Navy Admiral James Stavridis has made a comment saying that their fleet of at least 350 warships outnumbers America's 290. I know many will argue that the technology on ours may be better than theirs and that we don't need to have the same number, but nonetheless, he's also making the statement that given the global demands on the U.S. fleet, meaning we can't all take our entire fleet and put it up against China because we're kind of stuck in Europe, stuck in the Middle East, even down in South America, dealing with what's happening with Venezuela. And we're also now split to the north in the Pacific and to the south in the Pacific, and then obviously needing to protect Taiwan in the middle. So given those global demands on the U.S. fleet, the fact that any combat in the South China Sea would take place in the shadow of the Chinese mainland, in effect, a massive and unsinkable aircraft carrier, the U.S. must pursue a coalition strategy to balance the numbers. In other words, we need more Navy ships, and we need to make sure that we get them from our partners, our allies. And I don't even know that's enough, to be honest, but I think he's, again, just pointing out sort of the obvious that's been stated by many over the last couple of years, that the China's Navy has grown so strong or grown so large. And I think it's important that, while it's easy to look at numbers on the pages and say, okay, well, let me compare these apples to those apples, or apples to oranges, however you want to do it. The numbers are fine. Like, we're not that far off, and we have better tech. But the problem is we can't put all of our forces up against them at one time. Or if we did, then everywhere else we're supporting would fail.
And that's why if you team up with all of the adversaries, if everyone is popping off at the same time, it makes logical sense that all of this would happen. This is why this is why a world war would happen now, is because all of these other countries are all sitting at the same table now. They are now chatting. They're all saying, well, we want this, we want this, we want this. And they have come up with a way. They say, hey, if we do this plan, we come up with a way that we can all get what we want, and we can all get through it, even though U.S. right now is number one, and, well, we'll be sanctioned, this and that. They don't need that if they have BRICS. They have this whole setup. Everything that is being set up, I think it takes a crazy person not to see that they're setting up currency to once they go to war and separate from all of our countries, they're setting up financially, they're setting up physically, they're setting up mentally, they're telling all of their people to get ready for war. I mean, heck, even North Korea is taking down their reunification statues. They're saying it's done. We are going to war with North Korea. They are telling them through Ganda. In China, they're telling them, get ready for war. They're even cutting out all sorts of things from their TV, video games, all these things. China is hardcore about this. They even, a couple years in preparation for this, they're saying our youth are no longer going to play video games, or if they do, it's a couple hours a week. They are preparing those youth that were playing video games, they are preparing them to be tough. They took away all feminine anything on TV. Any person, any kind of thing like that is now gone in China. They wanted anything that would make a man soft gone. They did this back in 2020 after this whole CV thing happened. Oddly enough, and again, a lot of people don't really, know that this is probably all connected back to that. I mean, think about where all of the origins and all of the things that are going on right now. This is all a long game. When people say, oh, you've been saying this for 5 years, these things take a long time. There are moves being made, and there were moves being made back in 2017, 2016, 2014. This is a long game, and if the smart ones see that, they're seeing that this is something massive. We're not even talking a big event. We're talking about the event of our lifetimes, the event of every person on this planet's lifetime. This is a world war. They are separating, and they're creating a new system, and then everybody is going to fall in suit after this is done. I don't even know if there's going to be a winner or a loser, because everybody has been paid off. So overnight, when all of this goes down, you could have one side that's virtually not actually on the side that you think it's on. They're going to sabotage their own side. As far as allies and this whole naval coalition, what is our fleet, even if it's more advanced and it's more badass and it can just kick their butts, if we have it all in one place and we go up against them and we can totally defeat them, what good is that if it's true that China has technology that could totally disable all of the radars of everything we have? That's horrifying. So I guess we'll hope, and I guess we'll just say everything is Ganda and everything is fake. But I think a lot of preppers look at it and go, well, it's probably better to at least plan And if it doesn't happen, we'll have some extra food and extra water. If it does happen, we'll be a lot better off than a lot of other people. Paula Mensing, we've got Jennifer Chamberlain. If you guys want to do a quick roll call, Renee Vester, we've got Ohio in the house. I know that. Wide Awake and Angry, we've got Washington, lots of Washington folks. We've got California, we have Florida, Iowa, we have Idaho. Nice to see you. We, of course, have folks from Boston. Thank you. Some Seattle folks. I saw that. Thank you. We've got Stephanie Munoz, Bailey Brunchell from Michigan. We've got Charles May from Missouri, Central New Mexico. We've got Central Louisiana. We have Kansas City, Andy V. Donald Massey says, LOL resistance. I saw somebody say that. It says, Tim S. says, if you're listening to this, you are the resistance. I didn't realize that came from, I think it came from Terminator. Or what did it come before that? Where did that come from? I just watched the John Connor, one of the ones, the one with the same guy that played Psycho, Christian Bale, the one with Christian Bale in it. He does the radio broadcast. Or was it in the original movies? I don't know. Because I know that AJ had that as his like thing long time ago. If you're listening to this, you are the resistance kind of thing. And then Willard, Ohio, Bellingham, Washington, Queen BTP. Do you guys still have the pizza pipeline over there? That was good pizza. And then I don't know if they changed their name though. Rashid, what's going on? We've got Leah Marshall from Colorado, Bigfoot Lady, T Salvation. Yes, Terminator Salvation. That was it. Gene Splice. Thank you for that. Yeah, I thought that was a pretty good one. Actually, I didn't like a lot of the new ones. They all kind of sucked. Dead Ron or Red Dawn. And let's see here. Resistance Homesteading. John has a long mustache. That is very true. Rashid, Equilibrium, Wish I Had a Pizza Right Now, Lord Andrew, Chicago Phil, Northern Diner, Queen B2P, and Commander Corvus. Thank you guys. I appreciate all of you being here. All right, and then let's go into... okay, all right, like, seriously. First of all, there's a lot of whistleblowers, apparently, but a second Boeing whistleblower has now perished. But get this. It's after he perished from MRSA, which is an infection. MRSA's nasty. It's, if you cut yourself and get MRSA, you can lose a finger. It's a gross kind of like flesh-eating thing. I do know. I don't think I've ever. Yeah, I've never had MRSA, but I do know somebody that actually got MRSA on their leg. And it looked like a bug bite. It was really, really gross. It was like one of those bug bites that eats out a hole in their leg. It was really scary looking. But they're saying that's sort of what happened there. His sudden perishing at the age of 45 on Tuesday come after suffering a fast-spreading infection, according to his family and lawyer. That's a new one. MRSA, right? But it's totally separate. And something like this, they're like, oh, well, who takes somebody out with an infection, right? That's crazy. And I would believe that if you were a nation-state actor or a big, big, scary company, that you would most definitely be able to have access to something that was like designed to look like something else. Like, think about how the government is governments of the world, all of them, have ways to take people out that they don't want around. And we've all heard this from all the Hollywood films, but it is the truth. They try to make it look like an accident. Not saying that that's what happened here, because this is completely separate. The first whistleblower, yeah, that was suspicious because he perished, all of a sudden. But this guy, this is totally not suspicious. Right? That's what I'm supposed to say? It's not suspicious. Okay. All right. You'll let my family go. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, this isn't suspicious at all. It's MRSA. I mean, people every day perish from that, right? Or infections in general. Maybe they didn't get to the hospital quick enough. So I'm super glad I can rest easy at night. at night. You're on the last card. I can rest easy at night knowing that Boeing had nothing to do with this. Okay, thank you. Pretty crazy if you ask me. They of course was going to go out and he was actually talking about quality and safety issues that they believe had. And it says, quote, this is Dean's lawyer Brian Knowles says, it is a loss to the aviation community and to the flying public. Knowles told Zero he possessed tremendous courage to stand up for what he felt was true and right and raise quality and safety issues. Aviation companies should encourage and incentivize those that do raise those concerns. Otherwise, safety and quality are truly not these companies' top priorities. Of course, most of you know the whole other thing as far as there's been a lot of questions about quality and about safety, doors popping off, all sorts of stuff. The aircraft was involved in a near disaster when a door panel fell off an Alaska Airlines flight. Imagine being on a flight and the door doesn't open. Literally, it falls off, and all of a sudden you have air at 30,000 feet. I mean, like, that's just nuts. So, yeah. What do you think happened? Let me know in the comments down below. And I'm a happy person. Yeah. And then, Dex, do you want to go talk about Macron vows to send troops to Ukraine?
Europe's up-and-coming leader, Macron. And he is jockeying for everything. He's putting it all on the table. So again, sort of raising the risk for NATO forces, sort of standing against everyone else, but standing up saying, we don't need the U.S., we need to protect Europe ourselves. And, you know, Macron to the rescue is going to now say, hey, we're prepared to roll troops into UKR if Putin's forces break through the front lines. So, again, now, which front lines exactly is he referring to? Is he referring to the front lines that are currently established with UKR? And in other words, if they gain more grounds, or is he referring to the NATO front lines, and meaning making it all the way past UKR? And obviously, well, then of course you're going to, because NATO would all invoke Article 5. So I think it's more probably the former, and it sounds, because he has been very provocative in this position with not necessarily against NATO, but at least in a weird position with NATO, such that he's trying to make himself stand out. It seems clear, in my opinion, he's trying to look like, you know, the modern day European leader that will save Europe against big bad Russia. So we'll see. But again, it is an interesting, you know, new line, red line that's out there. It says if they break the front line, then we're going to send troops in, or we're willing to send troops in. Now, we'll see if he actually does, because if he does, that changes the whole game.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a NATO member declaring and actually having troops on the ground. I mean, we all know that they have troops on the ground there. But it's not official. There's a couple specialists that are running the weapons and things like that, but it is not completely official, right? We are most definitely going to World War III, or at least kinetic World War III soon. And let's see here. Putin's crushing new offensive could be the end of Ukraine. A lot of folks have been waiting for this to kind of have a step up. Of course, missiles from North Korea, drones from Iran, and a massive amount of technical assistance from China. Russian President Vladimir Putin may complain about the backing Ukraine is receiving from its NATO allies, but it is doubtful that Russia would be able to maintain its military offensive without the help it's getting from its motley collection of autocratic friends. So, first of all, I just want to say I think that they literally could. Their big strength and their main strength is that they focused on military this entire time. That is why they are, you know, a superpower. It's one of their things that is top priority over anything else, right? For several decades, they didn't really care about infrastructure and things like that. They cared about war and about fixing up their military. fixing up their nukes. They had really high priorities. In the latest indication of the support Moscow is receiving for its war effort in Ukraine, a team of UN investigators has concluded that debris from a missile that landed in the Ukrainian city of Kharkiv on January 2nd was from a North Korean Hwasong-11 series ballistic missile. The weapon was supplied to Moscow by Pyongyang, despite North Korea being subjected to a wide range of sanctions imposed in 2006 over its ballistic and nuclear programs. The missile, moreover, will have been part of the massive consignment of weapons North Korea has sent to Russia in recent months. So if you remember, there was 67 or close to 7,000 shipping container that had weapons in them, and they speculated what was actually in it, whether they were artillery shells, where there was this. Well, it turns out that there were probably some missiles in there as well. Iranian drones, too, have become a familiar feature of the Ukrainian battle space, with Russian forces using them regularly to conduct swarm attacks against key Ukrainian infrastructure. So this is crazy. So they're also supporting Russia in this facet, too. But yet, after they sent 300, you had experts talking about how when Iran sent 300 drones over to Israel, they couldn't do this again if they wanted to. Obviously, if they're selling these drones, they're making money. And if they're selling a lot of them, they're making a lot of money. So besides the billions of dollars that they now have access to because of all of the bureaucratic stuff that's going on with the U.S., they are also selling stuff to Russia, and they're making money. So they have money to then use that against their battle with Israel and all of the stuff that's going on over there, or the stuff that's going to happen. Also, I bet that there's some financial incentive if Iran steps up for China when they need it, or steps up for Russia when they need it, when all of this really goes down, and even for North Korea. All of these countries are working together super close. It's pretty clear to me that China is the ringleader, and all of these others are super close right behind them. So they're all preparing for something massive. They're talking about, they think that when they do go in and take Ukraine, that it's going to be, all of a sudden, it's going to be just this huge swoop. It really does seem like they were holding back. That's what I've said for 3 years. And that's what others are saying now, that they are holding back, and when they go in, they're going to go in hard and quick, and they're going to take huge chunks of Ukraine. So is that why Germany and all of these other places believe, maybe they're doing assessments, maybe they have intelligence there or spies, and they're saying, oh, wow, this is going to happen faster than they think? Who knows? I don't, but I do know that it looks like something's on the horizon. And I think that they're going to go in and sweep the rest of it. Dex, do you want to talk about the Finland army chief urges Europe to be prepared for Russia testing unity?
Yeah, so Finland's new armed forces chief said Russia was unlikely or likely to test NATO's mutual defense clause by attacking a NATO member state in the coming years, but may well continue what he said were these hybrid attacks, such as jamming and doing other interference with selection processes and things like that. So I guess what he's saying is he thinks it's unlikely they're going to actually do a physical attack, but they're going to continue to do these other attacks, which then bodes the question, where does NATO draw the line? Like, if cyber events go down, does that require an Article 5? If certain types of hybrid attacks happen, does that invoke an Article 5 response? So, of course, the quote goes on, of course, testing Article 5 is always possible, but if you take correct action and maintain unity, I consider an attack unlikely. So this is kind of an interesting position coming from one of the leaders, and especially from Finland, who recently joined, and also has like the massive amount of deployment of troops on the other side of the border there from Russia, just basically lined up everybody up against Finland real quick since they joined NATO. So they're in a interesting position in this, but they've also were quick to join and wanted to join, as well as they're also being subjected to the GPS jamming, just like a few of the other countries in that area through the Baltics. They're getting hammered with this GPS jamming that's, you may think is kind of annoying if you can't drive your car and get directions when you're going somewhere, but it's really annoying when you're trying to fly a plane at 50,000 or 40,000 1,000 or 30,000 feet with a whole bunch of passengers on board whose lives you're trying to protect and get back to the ground safely. And you all of a sudden wind up, in the wrong direction and somewhere over a country you're not even supposed to be over because the GPS was messed up. So that is also a safety concern that's happening right now, every day, every hour it goes on there. So that's the latest coming out of Finland. It's interesting position. I think we kind of hear a little bit of that coming from NATO as well.
Yeah, and before we talk about a statement by the North Atlantic Council, definitely want to remind you, go over and check out Patriot Supply. They have a great selection of food packages. As far as this is freeze-dried food that will last 25 years. Honestly, this is the most affordable way. There's a lot of different brands out there. This gives you the most bang for your buck, and it's very quick delivery as far as being able to get it in hand. If you are worried about tomorrow, it's definitely better to prepare yesterday, especially with the price of freeze-dried food. It has just skyrocketed. It's actually tripled since 2021. So if you can imagine where this will be in 5 years from now, where it'll be in 10, again, in 5 years, it may triple again, but you'll have 3 months or 6 months or whatever you end up selecting, and you'll have that for another 20 years. Where will prices be in 25 years from now? That's a crazy thought. In 2053, where will prices be? You don't have to worry about that as far as your prep food. You know how much you have. You know how much it will handle. If you go buy it, you'll have exactly 3 months of food. Or if you have 3 people, you'll have a month of food. If you have 2 people, a month and a half of food. And you can do your math easy like that. As far as you get a giant discount through the link, go to marfooglenews.com/prep. But you can also get smaller packages at the same time as well. I know a lot of people that either do a 72-hour kit when they can, or they'll try to get a little bit at a time. Some people even just put a certain amount. They'll put $25 towards it a month, and they'll get whatever package comes close to that. So go to marfooglenews.com/prep. Freeze-dried food is a great, I guess you can't say it's a investment, but how people look at it is you won't have to spend tomorrow's rates on food. The price of freeze-dried food will most definitely go up. marfooglenews.com/prep. And the statement by the North Atlantic Council is essentially, it says, we support and stand in solidarity with the affected allies. We will act individually and collectively to address these actions and will continue to coordinate closely. We will continue to boost our resilience and apply and enhance the tools at our disposal to counter and contest Russian hybrid actions. And we will ensure that the alliance and allies are prepared to deter and defend against hybrid actions or attacks. What they are actually worried about is not only cyber and electronic interference, but sabotage and acts of violence. This is something that has been picking up according to NATO. Go ahead, Dex.
Well, it kind of reminds me about what we talked about last night with the coming out of the state-run media in Russia saying that, we're going to, or there will be an event in Poland, there will be an event in France, and you will both be hit, and you're going to be hit from within, and you're not even going to know who did it. In other words, we start looking at these hybrid actions that they're talking about taking, which can include sabotage, can include acts of violence, and even, obviously cyber and other stuff. So I think that when you listen to that threat from Russia and you sort of look at the what we heard from Finland saying sort of the same thing as far as what they're expecting to happen right now, and now you got NATO saying it across the alliance, it's an issue too. So the stage is set for it, right?
Well, and what are we actually worried about? I think the big one on there, cyber, as far as acts of violence, events happening all over the place. To be real, I think before November, it's being primed. They're telling us on every level that something is going to go down here. As far as if you're Canadian, I would highly recommend that you follow the same advice. All of this stuff for all of our allies, it's happening everywhere. All of our allied countries are having these same kind of events. Smaller events at first, but what they're talking about is bigger events going down. I know that there's not as many people that are watching outside the U.S. If you're in the U.S., you should highly recommend you pay attention to what is going on around you, especially if you're out in public. Know your exits, know what's going on. People watch. Absolutely think that, you can go and poo-poo off all of these statements by the FBI, but I would also say question if, who knows, there could be chunks or parts of three-letter agencies that are a part of all of this. There is something massive going on, and if that massive thing is going to go happen, like a full-on reset of some of things, then things have to be torn down first. Every time that they implement new laws and new changes that are restrictive on us, it's after an event happens that requires those restrictions to fix it. In 2001, of course, the reason why we're all tracked and traced and all of our computers are listening to us is because of 2001. Many would look back at it and go, for the numbers of what was affected and everything else, should our lives forever have changed since then because of that event? I feel like there's a lot of people out there that would say no. It shouldn't. Like, was that worth all of the stuff that's happened over the last 25 years as far as being monitored and tracked and traced, and all of the work into tracking all of the conversations and the texts and everything else? Well, they're probably going to give us a reason of why that's been being done, right? It's going to be way bigger than that. And they keep mentioning to us, they've put it in the back of our head that it's going to be way bigger than 2001, that 2001 is going to be nothing compared to what is coming. I know there's some that just keep thinking, oh, they're just full of it, they're bluffing, they're full of crap. I don't think they are. I think something's on the horizon, and you could say that's confirmation bias because that's exactly what I've believed for years. But now it's not like I believed it after I heard stuff. It's like we believed this before all of these things happen every day. Every day there's 20 articles that confirm that this is going in the direction we've said it was going for years. This community has seen this coming for a long time. If you're new, and I'm talking to more of the people that are kind of new to the community, just kind of waking up, this has been happening for decades. And now we are at the precipice. We're at the horizon. So I hope that people have prepped. I hope that people have been watching this for a couple years and they've got themselves prepped up, because it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse before it gets better. And then Dex, they are showing our tanks, straight up NATO tanks, U.S. tanks. I made a comment on Twitter that these things look absolutely fresh. Like, some of them look like they didn't even go into battle. Maybe they painted them. Maybe they fixed them before they did this thing. But these are some high-tech tanks and high-tech vehicles, and they're driving around Russia now.
Exactly. And they some of them do look fresh. I think there may be one or two that look a little rough, but for the fact that there's so many fresh ones looking, it makes you wonder how they got them. It's not like these were necessarily destroyed or brought back to life. They were obviously just sitting there for the taking, and they were able to acquire them, and now they're showing them off. And you can see even a crowd showed up to see this, and they're on tour going around Moscow and other locations. So we have a handful of pictures you can see that are in the article. There's actually even more. So if you guys want to go see it, go check out the article, and you can see everything that is in there. But Russia launched the exhibition on Wednesday, showcasing more than 30 military vehicles it captured from UKR since the invasion began. In a sort of an open-air trophy display gloating over its seized NATO equipment, as the author says. So that's exactly what it is. It's certainly one of those, psychological type events, one of those feel-good kind of events, one of those let me show my adversary, how good we are and what we've done. I, also question, I don't know how much has been captured on the other side. We've certainly seen or heard reports of all these over the year and a half that's going on, or 2 years now that's going on. There's been plenty on the other side. I just don't know that we've seen much parading of it, and if that even makes sense. So, but that's what Putin does.
And I mean, look at the crowd turnouts. And you think that people aren't supportive of this? These are tanks and howitzers and different countries' tanks. They're like, we just snatched these up. So does that mean that it's morbid, really? You look at the bullets, the bullet holes in the windshields, and you wonder, that was bulletproof glass? Did it go through? Did those people perish, or did they surrender? Look at that. Look at that just is crazy to me. There were people sitting in that, and then pap, pap, pap. Imagine sitting in that driver's seat, and these are really thick glass. I mean, like, these are meant to be shot at. So I wonder, gosh, did that get hit? Did they get hit with a 50 cal or something from a sniper? But look at some of these. They're just like fresh. There was specifically a couple of them that didn't look like they saw a battle. There's just picture after picture after picture. Look at these. And if a lot of these, France, there's a lot of the UK. What is that? Is that France? Is that the French flag? I'm trying to see. Wait, or is that Italy? French. That is French. AMX 10 RC tank. And they're parading them. This is a joke. Like, I don't think they're losing, that's for sure. They're doing parades in their country of all the stuff they've snatched. Gosh, look at that. It's like a museum, and this is current. Like, this is something you would do in 40 years from now and be like, this is from the Battle of Ukraine. They're doing it today for the war that's going on today. Adam Z says propaganda. Well, I mean, how would it not be propaganda? It's they're showing stuff that's going on. I mean, yeah, it's a guaranteed propaganda. This is a message to the U.S. and to other countries. I mean, this is really going on in Russia. So, yeah, they're most definitely, there's a message. Go ahead.
Is it possible they owned all this stuff before and they just roll it out when they need to? I mean, look, they just said the other day that the U.S. bought a whole bunch of Soviet planes.
Yeah, and then we denied it. Well, watch. That would be funny if Ukraine did a parade of 81 Soviet-era jets, and they were like, yeah, we just took these from the war. That would be pretty funny.
Yep.
Well, I guess we'll see. I hope that those were already in their museums and things. Somebody said that some of those are current tech. And then Russian troops enter base housing U.S. military in Niger, U.S. official says. Remember, the U.S. is supposed to be out of Niger. They're kicking U.S. out. And now they have Russian there. Remember the concern? Dex, they were literally saying, like, we're worried about your relationship with Russia and Iran. And now Russian troops are entering the place that they're kicking the U.S. out of.
Yeah, absolutely. Niger took the position that they sided with Russia, and they basically said, yeah, come on in. We'll take your deal. And by the way, America, get out. So we're in the process of getting out, but we do have a base there, and the base is at the airport, and we maintain a hangar or something along those lines. And now Russian troops have moved into that area, so they're also occupying it as well. They're not occupying our exact space. I think they're in close proximity. They are in like the next hangar over, kind of, so to speak, or something along those lines. But yeah, we're in the midst of withdrawing, but Russia rolled in, so it's kind of a unique situation that the U.S. military is in an occupied base that it is moving out of, but the Russian military has moved into it. Now, they didn't move in under force. They moved in just under normal circumstances, so keep that in mind for now. But you never know. Things can change.
Yeah, so you have U.S. military there. If they get in a bar fight, that could be an active war. Like, if they end up going to the bar across the street and getting in a fist fight, that could be something that could turn serious. Hopefully, they get out of there safely, and obviously Niger has chose its side, and now they're going to have Russia deployed in Niger. So I guess that answers the question, right? All right, and thank you over on DLive. Thank you, Poco Loco, and thank you, Kimbria. Appreciate that. Thank you, Joanne Breeze. Thank you, Nuvitz. Thank you, The British Perspective. Thank you, Starin. Thank you, Stealth Mode. Appreciate you, Sissy Jean. Thank you so much. Terry Quinn, Redhead Mama, Tasha, and then I did see Daryl Calhoun. Thank you for stopping by. I don't know if you're still here, but I saw you saying goodnight. Thank you so much. I appreciate you stopping by. Liz W., Genius by Birth, and a lot of other folks that have been here for a very long time. Thank you so much for supporting us this week and showing up to every show. And Dex, I gave quite an in-depth view on the whole anti-satellite nuclear weapon stuff. Do you want to go over some of your thoughts?
Yeah, certainly. Look, it's a great short, and that short is over on Marfoogle News. So let me make sure. I think Adam said it earlier, but if you just joined the show later on and you didn't catch that, most of you may have came from that. But if you haven't, make sure you go watch that and share it out because it's perfect. It's just about this topic, specifically about what is happening with the anti-satellite nuclear weapon technology that is going up into space from Russia. And what's new is that a senior Pentagon official was talking about it with lawmakers today and raising up the concerns, the significant concerns. And then, of course, laying down we're not, so worried that it's imminent. Because if you remember when it broke about a month or two ago, it was sort of imminent. And we know why. And we talked about that. We actually laid down a series of events that happened that led up to that congressperson releasing the information. And it was a secret launch from Russia into space, followed a few days later by a secret launch from the U.S. that wasn't planned up into space. Then immediately a congressperson who had insight knowledge as to what was going on saying, hey, we need to let the public know, we need to let our allies know that this is going on. And then the damage control came out trying to calm everybody's nerves about what's really going on. Because something really is going on. So we've got all those dots connected, and you guys need to go watch it if you haven't seen it all or seen the new information as well. But at the end of the day, nuclear capability in space, taking out satellites, is a one and done. It's like, let's wipe. It's not a selective process. It's not let me just laser pick this one and laser pick that one. It's let me wipe them all, and we'll all just go down together. And that's the scenario. And that same scenario is the same thing that we talk about all the time when we talk about EMPs, or high-altitude electromagnetic pulse, because that is the technology you would use. That is a nuke up in space, in the atmosphere, in the orbital space, that would wipe out all these satellites. So the politicians aren't going to tell you that because they don't want to scare the public.
But those same politicians got satellite phones, and mind you, the satellites get knocked out. Satellites that aren't hardened against a nuclear detonation in space, which is most satellites. The satellites those Congress sat phones are connected to, those are hardened satellites. Same with most of Russia. Russia was doing hardened satellites before we even had an EMP commission. So you're talking about it would knock out most of the stuff because it was, it's peace in space. So majority, almost all of the satellites are not protected against this specific thing. But Russia had other enemies at the time where even when they were putting up their early satellites, they were thinking about hardening their satellites. So this wouldn't affect them as much as it would affect us. Not to mention the placement of it. If there's satellites that are hovering or that stay over certain places, they could hit, certain areas, but then they say it would start a domino effect, which I think they made a movie called Gravity or something like that, or it was a fictional movie, but it showed kind of one accident in space goes around and it ends up basically piling up and all of the stuff hits each other, and then it starts a spiraling effect, and it's, the satellite equipment and everything spinning around ends up turning into a weapon itself and hitting other satellites, and then they start picking up kind of like a rock rolling down a hill and gathering moss. Like that's how they describe it would start picking up everything and anything. And then the different heights and everything that could play into it as well. But yeah, they've had a lot of their satellites hardened. We did not. Now we have hardened satellites, and that's what the Congress is hooked up to. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that the Congress were offered and given satellite phones. They say 50 out of 100 of them were actually took them, and it was mostly like the left side that took them and the Republican side that didn't, or vice versa. Again, I remember they tried to like tell us that exactly half took it. I don't think so. I think they all took it. I think just half said, no, I don't need it, and I'm not afraid of that. They all took it. I bet it's probably mandatory. They just don't declare that. So something is on the horizon and above it. So we also talked about HR Operation Starfall. Go over to that video. You got to go see it. Again, if you haven't already, if you don't think about the kind of possibilities that could happen with something like this, or a cyber event or a grid down, well, first of all, we won't have gas stations. We won't have water supplies. That's the big worry. But also, we won't have pharmacies. We saw 30,000 pharmacies get hit all at one time just because of one cyber attack. That, of course, put people out for about a week. So we ended up picking up Jace. Jace is they have certified board certified doctors that can actually talk to you right now and get you backup supplies of your medications. You can actually get up to a year supply of your prescription meds. Now, it depends. You'll have to go over there to learn more. Obviously, it doesn't work with some medications, but there's a lot of really important medications you can actually get a year's supply of and constantly rotate that in and out of your regular prescription. That way you will always have a year of prescriptions. They also have the Jace case, which has emergency antibiotics, like that guy that just perished of MRSA or whatever. MRSA. It's like we now have things like MRSA, or things like a cut on your hand could take you out. I think Bob Marley perished because of a cut on his toe or something like that. And maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I've heard. And it's like you can perish from a simple cut. You can get it infected, and then that infection can go into your bloodstream. There are antibiotics through places like Jace. You go get that. It's definitely a good thing to have on hand, and that is what's so cool about it, is you can actually get something like that right away. Go to marfooglenews.com/Jase, Jase, and make sure to use the code MARF. As far as the satellite video, make sure to go watch that. You can actually click here to go see that. And, of course, it's got a whole bunch of other information there, and it is all backed up on the website with the full bibliography. Joanne Breeze, thank you. Nevitz, thank you. Chanel Bevaliqua, thank you for your massive support of our channel. I believe you and Nevitz are our top supporters tonight, so thank you so much, and thank you, Chanel, for supporting Independent. Dex, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
And again, thank you guys. Have a good night. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. Make sure to watch that video. It's now time for a shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. I just don't know what to say. Evil people all gray. I just hope they go away.